Hello. Thank you for watching today's private equity webinar. We're talking about the single source of truth. Before we jump into it, thank you to all of those that are watching this live today, watching this on replay. For those customers, partners, employees, and our entire ecosystem, thank you for your support and your patronage. We appreciate the partnership and the opportunity to serve you, and we look forward to serving others in the very near future. This particular webinar is in a series of webinars related to private equity and using data and analytics. And so each of these webinars are standalone. You do not have to watch these in any particular sequence, nor do you have to watch any of them except for the one or ones that you are most interested in. So check those out on social media to watch in replay. So we think of private equity naturally has a playbook for leading companies, for acquiring companies, to grow those companies, and then to eventually exit those companies once they reach certain thresholds. And of course, every private equity is a little bit different as to what their guardrails are, what the investment needs to get to before they look to sell or divest. And on the flip side, there's also a natural playbook for as you acquire different companies or different brands and look to integrate those into one overall organization or a portfolio of companies that make up an overall brand and investment. So this playbook is very important. This is part of the secret sauce from a private equity play, whether those are the people, the systems, the way they go to market, the way they understand their customers, try to understand their customers, and really how to use data, or in today's webinar, how you could and should be using data in order to maximize and increase that enterprise value for you, the PE firm, in that investment. Naturally, private equity, you invest some capital, you want that capital to grow, then you want to expand that as many multiples as possible, and then look to gear that up for cash flow to realize capital, or you look to sell that particular investment or set of investments in order to recapitalize that capital or that initial invested capital along the way. And we've seen companies that integrate their systems and really the data behind the scenes across those different applications. Those PE firms, when it comes time to realize that capital, they're getting a 1 to 2x expansion in that multiple just by integrating the data and systems onto themselves. For those organizations that do not do this integration, they do not see this particular multiple increasing because of that. Naturally, an organization that is buying what the portfolio is selling is going to do their due diligence. And during the due diligence, they're going to find out pretty quick that whether the multiple acquisitions that are within the particular investment are integrated or not. And integration is, yes, the people need to be integrated. The lines of business need to be integrated from an operational perspective. But then the underlying applications and systems that run these companies also need to be integrated. A lot of times we see that the PE firms don't take the time in order to do this systems integration from a data and analytics perspective, and they miss out when it comes time to realizing that capital and leave money on the table is what it comes down to. Yes, it might have taken a little bit of additional invested capital, but that invested capital is very quickly recouped once you look to realize that capital. So definitely something to keep in mind from a PE perspective when it comes to divesting and realizing that capital. I'm Mike Jolin. I've been in the data and analytics space for a couple of decades, helping PE firms and other portcos integrate their data and applications so that PE firms can capture as high of a multiple as possible when it comes time to realize their capital investment. Naturally, well, how do we do this? Or what does it mean to be the systems and data integration? Yes, there are natural processes within an organization, order to cash, all right, consolidating profits and loss statements, your speed to market, that digital transformation, which a lot of times digital transformation is leveraging technologies across multiple business units, the same technology, the same processes, so that you have that uniformity. It also will remove any redundant processes and potentially roles in an organization that are no longer needed by replacing those roles with technology. And same with data monetization. One of the forefronts of organizations leaving money on the table, each organization has a treasure trove of data. Yes, some of that data is proprietary and contains IP, but there is a subset of that data that you can go to market with to your partners, to your suppliers, to your customers to be able to monetize that data. And naturally, from an automation perspective, data integration across these different applications is going to help with that digital transformation, but really from that overall integration. So lots of different challenges and desired outcomes. However, data being that underlying key component, these are ways that we can figure out, well, how are we going to use data in order to support these different outcomes and challenges. So there's data. That's great. We know data exists. And it's really, a lot of times we see organizations, their common data problems in order to address those desired business outcome, the data accessibility. I know where it is, but I can't get to it. Or I don't know where this data is. Oh, it's in this database over here. How do I get access to this data? And if I was to get access to the data, what am I going to do with it? Where am I going to put it? I'm going to dump it into an Excel spreadsheet if it's a small enough data source. But 9 times out of 10, that data source is very large. Hundreds of millions, billions of records, hundreds of tables, and trying to figure out what am I going to do with all this data, a spreadsheet very quickly becomes unusable. So you want to not only do a one-time pull of the different data sources, you want to get the data on them multiple times a day, or just once a day, or once a week, or once a month. But you don't want to have to spend human capital time in order to go and get that data, massage that data, and try to make sense of the data in an unwielding Excel notebook. And along the way, there's data security. All right, that needs to be top of mind. Who should be able to see this data? If the data has PII or HIPAA considerations, well, that's something else that needs to be taken into account and not just put onto somebody's desktop or put into an Excel workbook or put into some place that I'm not going to worry about security. You need to worry about the security, which all of that is speed of delivery. If something needs to be updated on a daily or intraday basis, having somebody manually wrangle this data is very painful and not realistic in regards to speed of data. Then once you get the data, to be able to visualize this data, report on it. The visualization could be a line bar chart. It just could be KPIs. How are we doing in this part of the business? How are we doing on order to cash? What is our day sales outstanding across all of our portfolio companies? We just bought a new company. How do I integrate as quickly as possible that new company? Because I need to do P&L reporting. I need to get visibility into this new line of business or this new portco. However, I need to move fast and I need that information yesterday because now I'm managing a new company. And naturally, once you get data, you're going to have questions. Well, this metric doesn't look right. Or I want to be able to drill into, perhaps this metric looks great for the last 6 months. How's that metric been doing in the last 1 month? Are there hidden anomalies within the data that you need to start at that high level and drill down into the details to be able to say at each level of a hierarchy, is the story the same as the top level? Am I doing well? Or is there a particular business unit or department or an individual portco that isn't performing as well as it needs to? And you need to spend that time in order to right that part of the business. Or maybe it's a location that has a particular issue. It could be a warehouse, it could be a restaurant location, it could be a region in the country. All these things, if you bubble that up high enough, you can mask a lot of underlying business problems and business opportunities in order to improve, so that you improve your operational efficiency, which naturally improves your enterprise efficiency. And when we come to realizing that capital that was initially invested, you are trying to maximize that multiple of that initial capital. So how do we do that? Well, of course, data is gold. Data is what is going to allow you to look deep, deep into an individual portco, but it's also going to let you look across portcos when and where that makes sense. It's going to give you that visibility to identify how are we performing. And some of those opportunities that we talked about earlier in regards to perhaps individual parts or segments within a portco is doing well, but perhaps there are opportunities to improve those results. It also is going to increase the accuracy. You're not going to have to worry about somebody doing data gymnastics in an Excel workbook or in some other one-off process that if that person wins the lottery or decides to move on from the organization for whatever reason, now that information just goes out the window to say, I have no idea how this process worked. It was magical. We got this report sent to us in email, once a week, once a month, once a quarter. That's a risk to your organization. That's also one of those items when it comes to due diligence of a firm or entity that is looking to acquire that portco or maybe a portfolio of companies. So now that allows you as the PE in order to do that better portfolio management. Yes, I understand that looking across portcos can be a challenge where some of those portcos don't make sense to look across. Well, at some level, especially a financial level, it does make sense in order to understand and to display to whether board of directors or the PE leadership to say, how is this investment or set of investments doing? Especially when you think of how you bundle investments together into a common umbrella of portcos, and you would say, this is our entire offering that we are going to eventually sell as a single package deal. While there are many pieces, how do you convey and show during the due diligence and even during the initial conversations of, this is our company, here's how we're doing? But even to yourself to say, well, let's not talk about when it comes time to divest a portfolio. Let's just talk about operating and managing that portfolio. You naturally have that operational excellence that you are striving for on that quarterly, annual basis. That could be over a 2, 3, 5, 7-year period, whatever your thesis is in regards to how long you keep a portco or portcos before you sell off. All of that's short-term and long-term. Data is what's going to, and really the integration of the data is what's going to make or break these investments, which obviously higher revenue, competitive advantage because you're either other PE firms or just other Me Too types of investments out there. You will be positioned well and above for the new operator to come in and more seamlessly take over and do what they need and want to do with that investment, because you moved on to your next investment. So you have data all over the place. It could be in point of sale, it could be an ERP, you have an HR system, payroll may or may not be in HR, finance could have its own application, and then sales and marketing and have its own application or set of applications that they use. Some of those applications will be up in the cloud. Some of those applications will be subscription based. You could have on-prem, be in somebody's laptop. Hopefully not, but you never know. All these different sources of data and how you get data out of those sources are also very different. So you can either spend the time to have somebody or a group of people, say on an IT team, that are going to be the data wranglers to go get the data. But do you want to build out an data integration team itself? Are you large enough PE firm, or is the group of portcos within that investment large enough to support financially a team of data integrators? They're going to build all the connectors to these different data sources. They're going to do all of the centralizing of the data. And then they're going to build out the analytics and reporting. For some PE firms, yes, the financial economics are there. For many PE firms, the economics are not there from a financial perspective in order to build out those capabilities. Nor even if the financial economics were there, we see a lot of organizations that say, as the PE firm, I do not want to get into the game of building out all these custom data integrations to go get the data and to figure out all this technology. I just want to have a single approach, single platform, in order to centralize my data into a single source of truth. I don't want to spend the time writing all of the different connectors to the point of sale system, my CRM, my HR, Google ads, Meta ads, TikTok ads, however you are spreading your data and driving customers to your various portcos. Instead, leverage a platform such as datalakehouse.io to centralize their data into that single source of truth so that you can build out those insights by using analytics of your choice. And so this way, this is a very streamlined approach. It's a repeatable pattern. So as you add more portcos, you add more operational systems into the mix. Very quickly, Data Lakehouse, in a matter of minutes, is going to start landing that data into your cloud data warehouse, aka your single source of truth, where it now becomes available in order to do that analysis. And yes, that analysis is going to be across these different applications. When you think of Customer 360, there isn't one individual application out there that is going to give you the benefit of how do you nurture and find prospects, how do you convert them to a customer, and then how do you maintain them as a customer and upsell to them over the course of the relationship, the course of their lifetime. Well, that takes a lot of different applications that are not necessarily talking to each other. But once you have the data from all these individual applications centralized into your cloud data warehouse, that single source of truth, from there, you leverage data techniques in order to tie this data together so that you are able to create a customer 360, or what is my true lifetime value of this customer. Great. It'd be nice to say, okay, Mike, I understand you are leveraging our spa services in one of our portcos. You're leveraging, because you have younger kids, you're leveraging some of the activities that we have offered at a different portco. How do you look at Mike as a whole across those multiple portcos, which are going to be multiple and different applications? However, Mike Jelen is going to be consistent. I might be Mike in one application. I could be Michael in another, and someone may have just put Jelen in some other system. Well, how do you tie that data together? That is where, in your single source of truth, leveraging techniques within datalakehouse.io allow you to tie that data together so that I, as Mike Jelen, who I am in these different portcos, but you're able to see, who am I? What am I doing? How do I go now take that information about Mike Jelen and go find other Mike Jelens to get them engaged, get them as customers, get them to do more business within your set of portfolio companies. Data is king in order to allow you to do that. But you also need the techniques in order to tie the data together. And that's where datalakehouse.io comes in. Naturally, you have no shortage of questions about your operations. Lots of different ways to create these reports, but that data underneath need to take from a visualization perspective of where you want to go and what information and insights are you looking for across your organization, down within your parts of your organization, in order to answer those questions and not have to spend the time to say, well, okay, this data is in 12 different places. I need to mash it together. How am I going to do that? I have no idea. That's where Data Lakehouse comes in and does it for you. Let's look at an individual kind of smaller example here. We think of Mindbody. For companies, this is a very common platform, especially if you're in a franchise model. This is very near and dear to individual locations. But then you have Google Ads, Meta Ads, Insta Ads, TikTok, that you are top of funnel putting ads out there to get people to join or maybe to stop by for the first time. How do you know it's the first time that they're in there? Is there an offering that you have been given? Is that offering a very generous or rich offering that, yes, it got people's attention? However, while it got them in the door the one time, how do you make them a repeated customer? How do you get them to go from a one-time customer to a membership? And how are you nurturing that? If people are loyal to a one-time offering, it's very difficult in order to convert them to a membership. But if you target the right audience based upon your current customers or your demographics or the communities that you serve or are partnered with, how do you engage with those folks to drive the awareness? And then how do you know when it is their first time, their second time, their third time, etc.? And then along the way, how are you positioning subscriptions, packages that you're trying to sell, whether that could be a tanning location? All right, great. Well, there's tanning, there could be massages, there could be, may even have a salon that's attached to it. You could have yoga, you could have a lot of different offerings, but how do you create packages that someone that's been to your location once, twice, maybe 3 times is willing to now sign up for a subscription? Because at that point, subscription, like any good subscription, it's monthly recurring. It's something that people are saying, yes, I'm getting value. They're excited for the patronage. They're excited for the services. But really that subscription to show that continue revenue versus lumpy revenue, where you may have lumpy revenue because of a particular season or time of year, or if a one-time offer is a little bit too rich, definitely lumpiness in regards to, that offering, yes, got people in, but that interest died off very quickly thereafter. And so that lumpiness, you're trying to smooth out. Subscriptions help with that, or package offerings where someone is buying multiple products, multiple services and products all at the same time. So as you look at different ways to grow and enhance the financial performance and the operational performance at your different locations, data is what's going to allow you to do that. But it's really those insights, whether it's a dashboard or report, that's going to drive you to those answers. And so getting data from these different sources, Data Lakehouse is that vehicle that will pull the data from these different sources and also then present these actual insights and analytics, all centralized in a data cloud. This data cloud, highly secure with bank grade security, so that your data is always safe, even when it's moving and when it's at rest. So you think of it from an operational perspective, you have a restaurant. That manager, the maitre d', the host or hostess, and the people that interact with the customer, those people, yes, data is important to them. They want to know, how can I do better? How do I know that you come through the door, you're the first time customer, or maybe you're the third time you've been to that location. That's where the people skills comes in, to take the data or just to have and ensure that that customer experience, whether it's a dining experience, tanning experience, it could be a swim lesson experience or experiences. That's where the people part comes in. And that's where the data takes you so far, and the execution of what are we going to do with that data now turns into people, the biggest asset that you have. The people are what are going to take it the last mile to make sure I have and customers have a very positive experience. Someone that's come through for the first time, they're going to have a wonderful experience and they're going to want to come back. And customers that have been coming back 2 or more times, that they continue to come back, that they deepen their relationship by subscribing to a monthly service. Maybe they buy a package. They buy things that they want to give away as gifts. But understanding all the things about that individual and the group of individuals will allow you to have not only a better customer experience, but then to identify those prospects and those folks from a marketing funnel perspective, top of funnel, to get them engaged and even aware. A lot of times is brand awareness that is missing or lacking. Trying to speak in the right tone so that the individual is motivated and excited to say, yes, I'm going to go check out your new spa location. Great. What's the right verbiage for that? What are you trying? What groups of audiences are you targeting in order to be these net new customers? So it's great. We can look at a dashboard, and this dashboard is going to have data from, whether it's from Google Ads, Meta Ads, wherever you're doing ads, going to have that operational data to be able to say, well, it's great that the person found me through this ad, but what did they really spend? What was that conversion? What ads had the larger impact on conversion, and which ones, quite frankly, just didn't work? Gives you the ability to say, okay, it worked in Google, but it didn't work in LinkedIn, or it didn't work in Bing. Well, why? It gives you an opportunity to refine those marketing motions on those individual platforms versus taking a one size fits all and just say, I'm going to create one ad and I'm going to push it out everywhere. Well, you can try that at first, but then after a while, you got to look at the data to say what is working and what is not working, and tweak the part that is not working, and not just continue with a one size fits all approach. Use the data to your advantage to continue to iterate. Getting started with datalakehouse.io is very easy. Within a very short period of time, you can connect to your data sources, you can use our cloud data warehouse or bring your own so that you get that single source of truth. And then you start to create the insights and analytics from your data. Thank you for watching this webinar today or in replay. If you have any questions or want to talk more about your individual situation in Portco as to how we can help out, get you further engaged with your data, which means further engagement with your customers and your employees and your prospects, we'd love to talk to you. So reach out to us and we'll talk soon. Thank you.